Linux, a free open source kernel used for building operating systems, created as a hobby in 1991 by a guy named Linus Torvald, from which a variety of distributions, aka operating systems, came out, in which today is now the most widely used operating system out there, used in servers and routers all the way down to your Android device, which is Linux based. In today's video, I'll be showing you how to use Linux, more specifically the Ubuntu distribution. However, most of the commands I'll be showing you will apply to other distributions as well. To get started, delete your Windows or Mac OS or whatever you have installed and install Linux. Well, that is one way to do things, but thankfully there are other ways as well. One way is to use a virtual machine, and I'm using VirtualBox, and the second way is by using WSL if you are using Windows 10 or 11, and this will allow you to have Linux running directly with Windows, as WSL stands for Windows Subsystem Linux. However, whichever way you choose to do things, you should see a screen like this one, assuming you're using the Ubuntu distribution. Now before we get started, if you're enjoying the video so far, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel, and let's get started in Linux. Now right click on your desktop and select Open Terminal. From there you can type in pwd to print your current working directory. Run ls to display all the files in your current directory. Create a file by using the weirdest command in Linux, and that is touch and then the name of the file you want to create. Now run ls again and you should see the file that you've created on the desktop. Now my terminal is getting all cluttered up, so run the clear command to clear up your terminal. Now if you ever have an identity crisis, you can run the whoami command to find out who you are logged in as. Run the cd command to change your directory, and cd ... will take you back a step. Now if I continue going back, it will take me all the way to the root of my machine. But a shortcut to get back to the root is cd/. Now the root is the main part of your machine, not to be confused with the root directory, which we'll talk about later on in this video, and from there you can access every other file. Now let's shift gears for a moment and explain the file structure of your Linux machine. The bin directory is where all the binaries live, and if I cd into it and list out all its content, I will find most of the commands I was just typing. And that's because these commands live as files inside of your Linux machine, because everything in Linux is a file. To open up one of these files, run cat and then the name of the file that you want to open, cat standing for concatenate. Now if you understand the content of these files, then you must be a robot, because this is the binary code for the commands that we were just typing. Now if you're having trouble just like I am because I concatenated the file, run the reset command and it will reset your terminal back to English. Now because all these commands exist in Linux as files, that means I could copy them and even delete them. So go ahead and copy one of these files by using the cp command, and I'll copy the pwd file and set it as, without any shortcuts, the full print working directory. Now whenever I type in print working directory, it will have the same effect as simply typing in pwd. Now because I don't want to type in an entire sentence whenever I want to print my working directory, I can simply remove this command by typing in rm and then the name of the file that I want to remove. Now you may have noticed that with the last two commands I've been typing in sudo or sudo, depending on how you want to pronounce it, and that stands for superuser_do. Because in Linux sometimes you have to say please, and the sudo command is only available to users with administrative privileges, because you wouldn't want anybody on your Linux machine to go ahead and remove your remove command. Now if I cd ... out of my bin directory and list out the content of the file, you will notice that I have a bin directory and also an sbin directory. The sbin directory contains executables, aka commands, for the superuser, also known as the root user, because the root user has the most administrative privileges. The lib directory contains all helpful files that is used by the system, kind of like how you import files in programming languages. The boot directory contains the files that your Linux machine uses to boot up, and the dev directory contains all the devices connected to your machine, and you can interact with every device as if it were a file. For example, in Ubuntu, the SDA file is your hard drive. However, it may vary across other Linux distributions. You'll also see there is a user or USR directory, and confusingly it looks almost identical to the root directory, but the difference is whatever the user directory contains is non-essential to the operating system itself. If you want to find out which command you are executing, as in is it the executable inside of the USR directory or is it the executable inside of the root directory, you can by typing in which followed by the name of the executable that you want to find out which is being executed. Next we have the etc or etc directory, which stands for Editable Text Configuration. Inside it you will find all the settings and configurations of your Linux machine. Now there are two more directories that I would like to show you, and that is the root directory and also the home directory. Now if I go into the home directory, I would find the directory of the user that I'm currently logged in as. And here I'll find all my files, just like every user in Windows has their own My Documents. Now if I add a user to this machine, their folder will also be located inside of the home directory. But if I take a step back, I would also find the root directory, and the root directory is the man in charge of everything. In other words, the root directory is the equivalent of my directory that is inside of home, except the root directory is special. Use the su command to switch users, and once I log into the root directory, you'll notice it will change from a $sign to a £sign. This indicates that I am currently the root, and now I have full control to do anything. Now in these short minutes we've covered a lot, so I'll be making a separate video on Linux permissions, and possibly an entire playlist diving deeper into Linux. All you have to do is leave a comment down below requesting for it. And with that said, if you've enjoyed the content, please like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and on that bombshell, thanks for watching.